takes a referee 2 feet from the play on the sideline, staring at the guy trying to catch the ball, staring at where his feet are, and still calls him out.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
Drew Brees is a Hall of Famer, absolutely, and showing that he could possibly be the GOAT.
All right, but I gotta say something about the New England Patriots here. The Patriots kept coming out and saying, before the Super Bowl even happened, they kept saying, oh, well, everybody's against us. Bullshit.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, everybody, welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. I am your host, Joe DeCapita, and alongside of me is... Oh, yeah, that's right. Jim's taking the night off. He's on vacation. He's enjoying himself, so I hope he's staying safe. I hope he's doing well. And he took the family out for the old Boston Aquarium trip. You know how some of you know all about that out there. And he's got the kids. He's got the whole spiel going on. And so I'm here by myself right now. I don't know why Jimmy agreed to allow me to try to run the show by myself, because not many people, put that much faith into me, because, quite honestly, I do screw up a lot of things. So let's just hope it goes pretty smoothly. Let's hope we keep it rolling and everything. It's big right now. Tomorrow is the first NFL game of the preseason. We have the Hall of Fame Thursday night game. You got the Falcons out there doing their thing, and hopefully it's going to be an interesting game and a good game. We all know that preseason usually is kind of premeditated. There's always like the basic plays. They don't show too much. They're very vanilla. It's like base defense versus base offense against each team. So we're not going to see schematics. We're not going to be able to see really what they're going to utilize in the playbooks there for the upcoming season. But nonetheless, if you're a huge football fan, you like to see the young talent. You like to see them show up. You like to see if the draft picks look like they might have some potential, might pan out for that respected team. And it's football. How can you not be excited about football? So that's going to be very exciting. And, I can't wait. It's tomorrow night is the first preseason game. Tune in, watch. Maybe you might notice something a little bit different. Maybe they do have a little personnel differences out there on the field there. For the when you look at the initial roster, sometimes it doesn't match up on the field. They're trying some different things and that sort of thing. But nonetheless, let's get into the show here. I want to talk a little bit about the NFC East, and not really just about the division and the roster and that type of thing, but they've been in the headlines as the 3 out of the 4 teams have been heavily in the headlines recently. And let's just start talking about the New York Giants. Because when you look at the New York Giants right now, they had a problem last year, which was what? Lack of wide receivers. And it looks like they're having the same problem right now. So that's kind of concerning if you're a Giants fan. You were going into this offseason with a different lineup in terms of your wide receiving core. And now it's looking a lot different once again. You're not going to initially have the starters there right away. We noticed that Corey Coleman goes down. He's on the IR, so he won't be allowed to participate this season, which is a downer because I really believe in Corey Coleman. I think he's one of those young wide receivers who, yes, he's been often injured, but man, if this kid can just stay healthy, he's already a hard worker. You already know what you're getting with this guy, but man, he's just right there on the cusp. If he can just stay healthy, he could make a big impact for a team right there with the Giants. Hopefully he'll be able to return next season and have a shot. Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard in training camp, he kind of busted up his thumb. He sprained it, and more severe than it might have been broken, I believe. But he's got some time to recoup now. He might miss most of training camp, but you already know what you have in Sterling Shepard. He's a veteran. He's already been there. Now what the Giants are just worried about right now is getting Sterling Shepard back healthy and keeping him that way. So there's 2 losses right there. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little upsetting, and especially for Giants fans out there, is Golden Tate. I mean, what can you say with the guy? The guy's got a 4-game suspension now, substance abuse. So, I mean, it's very concerning. He did come out and was very apologetic to the organization, to the fans, to the front office, and rightfully so. He is a class act, but again, he kind of screwed up. He took something he shouldn't have, and it kind of bounced back, and the NFL found out, much like it always does. Golden Tate now, he's on a 4-game suspension. So now what do the Giants do right now? I mean, really, you have the likes of Cody Latimer, Russell Shepard, Benny Fowler, Reggie White, Britton Golden, Alonzo Russell, Damari Scott. TJ Jones is a recent signee. He was one of the younger free agents out there to pick up. He is an ex-Lion, and he showed some potential out there in Detroit. The Giants are hoping that he can add a little spark in this offense that's kind of this wide receiving group that's kind of beat up right now. And they also signed a guy that's familiar with the New York Giants, is Amba Ede-Tao. Don't really know how you pronounce that name. It's crazy. But he's a new free agent signing as well. But he was recently with the Giants last year on the practice squad and so forth. So, because you got that he knows the playbook. In other words, like he knows, he's already got a head start on TJ because he already knows the playbook already by now. He's more familiar with the offense. TJ Jones, though, is a nice, young, talented receiver, and there's a huge list of free agent wide receivers out there. Despite age, there's a lot of bigger names out there. 33-year-old Michael Crabtree still hanging out there. Dez Bryant is, but little thing about Dez Bryant right now is he just recently basically tweeted out and said, "This is why I don't bother coming back to the league, because this whole scenario happened with the Cowboys with Zeke Elliott," and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Dez Bryant's pretty much said it through his tweets that he's not even looking to get on a team right now. So there you have it. The guy, if he's planning to sit out a year or two, like he's hinting towards, then you're hinting towards retirement, because let's face it, if no one's picking you up right now, Dez, then nobody's going to pick you up 2 years when you're 2 years older from now. So now going back to the Giants here, so you look at these names, and some of them you're like, who are they? I don't know who this. Who's this Reggie White? Is that the D tackle from Green Bay? Is he coming? No, he's a wide receiver. He's just been there, and this is It's very disturbing in the fact that just last year the Giants had to play with basically guys off the street, and it seems like coming into this year with a lot of promise and the additions that they made, and addition by subtraction with Odell. Now you're looking at this team like, wow, Sterling Shepard's hurt again. Corey Coleman, who was sought in OTAs, a very nice bright spot for New York, and he looked like he could have been a really, really a big mismatch in the slot against opponents. And then you have Golden Tate, who ends up getting a 4-game suspension. Yes, it's only 4 games, so it is what it is. He's got to go through it. He's going to miss 4 games. So the Giants would go out, and I found this kind of interesting, is they didn't go for a Crabtree. They didn't even talk to a Dez. They didn't even talk to some of these other older veterans that are out there that you already know what they can do. They can come in and play right away and perform for you with the missing Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard. Who knows when he's week to week right now. So hopefully they get him back in a week or two to get him rolling. But I look at these backups here, and I pick out a couple of them, Benny Fowler and Cody Latimer. These are 2 guys that they're kind of journeymen at this point. They used to be Broncos, and now they're coming into the Giants, and they've kind of hung around this roster for a little bit. And when they have been given opportunities, they've shown a little bit of a spark there for the Giants when they're given the opportunity. So I think they have something to work with, even though they're a little bit lower on the totem pole here in New York. I really do believe that, they could get away with what they have. Now, if Sterling Shepard comes back healthy, Sterling Shepard comes back. I've been hearing rave reviews on Evan Ingram coming out of the training camp. He apparently he's uncoverable right now. He it seems like he's 100% healthy now, and he's right back to where he was when he first entered the league. So if they can maintain his health, if Evan Ingram can stay healthy, they get Sterling Shepard back before the season. Minus Golden Tate, they still got a couple of low-key weapons that no one knows a whole lot about, and they could utilize that. Don't forget Saquon Barkley's in the backfield, so he's a big draw of attention, which could open up the routes for these guys and help them get open a lot more often. So that's something to look at. So the Giants, they've had their lows, but they've also had a little bit of highs here and there. Plus, you got to look. Also, is that this offensive line is more improved than it was last year. So that with protection, better protection up front for Eli to give him a little bit more time, he should be able to. It doesn't matter what receivers he has out there, he'll make them good receivers. We've seen that before in the past on their Super Bowl runs. It's when you bring up some of the names, it's like, well, who was that guy? So. Mario Manningham, what happened to him? Like, he was with the Giants, he won a Super Bowl with them, and then all of a sudden, it's like he was like a flash in the pan, and all of a sudden he left the Giants, and then that was it. So, I think the Giants are going to be just fine. I think you can't really hit the panic button just yet. You got to remain calm, and and see. I think they'll be okay. I think it will be okay. Let's just not hit the buzzer yet. Let's not hit the panic button. Let's take one step at a time. I think they're going to be fine. Yes, they're going to have to do with not having Golden Tate for the first 4 games, but I think they can manage to hold it together and still be a decent offense. Next then for the NFC East here, we have the Redskins. Now, this Redskins roundup type of deal here, this is kind of like a little crazy now. We did talk about last week how about the left tackle Trent Williams saying, I'm going to hold out, man. I'm holding out. I'm not coming in. I demand a raise, or I'm just going to chill. I'm not going to come back in. I need to be, I need to be paid. I need to be paid. And is he? Yeah, he's a Pro Bowl left tackle. He's a guy that you don't want to have to let go. He's a guy that you definitely want to keep happy. And give him a little bit of raise. Don't give him a huge raise. He's already making good money. But give him like maybe $1 million or $2 million extra just to please him, just to keep him happy. Because, listen, you have, Dwayne Haskins is your rookie quarterback. You have Case Keenum there who's, likely to be the starter. But if Dwayne Haskins impresses enough throughout training camp, I'm sorry, but you hand the torch over to the youngster. You let him sling the rock around and let him grow and develop, get an early start there. Case Keenum, we already know what he is. He's a veteran. He's been around team to team to team. He's a decent enough quarterback to put him out there and start. You don't have to rush Dwayne out there. But it don't matter who's back there right now, a quarterback. If you don't have Trent, a Pro Bowl left tackle, a guy like this is they're not easy to find. Left tackle or right tackle now. Now the league has kind of developed into teams they're heavily investing in pass rushers on left and the right side. So in turn, the offenses have to combat that, and they got to have Pro Bowl type left tackle and right tackle. They got to have bookend tackles that are good enough to block the pass rushers and the speed rushers and the bull rushers and all kinds of rushers. So now we have a little bit of a debacle in Washington, D.C. with Trent Williams. And as of right now, Williams, it's been stated that Williams no longer trusts the medical staff or the GM, Bruce Allen, and he does not intend to play for them ever again. I mean, this is his quote. He quoted, he's come out and said, I do not intend to play for them ever again. The Redskins as an organization have lost the trust from Trent Williams. So that's a dangerous thing. When you start to lose trust and your relationship breaks up for a player to a team, that's tough to get back. And he's already kind of stated that and has been very public about it. And in turn, what the Redskins have done, with which Bruce Allen has done himself as well, is he's made some decisions here. You know, Washington recently added some depth in case Trent is being real with them. If he doesn't return, they've added Corey Robinson, a tackle, and also Donald Penn, who is an ex-Raider. He started for the Raiders at left tackle in the beginning, and then last year he started at right tackle until he got hurt. Donald Penn, he's an older veteran. Can he still play? Yeah, he could still play. But again, are you getting Donald Penn, a 100% healthy Donald Penn? I think he still has some more gas in the tank. As he still have a lingering injury from last year, that's what you got to be careful of. But nonetheless, they've managed to add those two guys as insurance policies. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they lose Trent Williams, like it's been reported right now that the Redskins currently, I mean, can't believe I'm saying this, but they're currently shopping left tackle Trent Williams. Okay, you signed Donald Penn. You signed Corey Robinson. But really you're going to try to shop him? I'm sorry. If you're a team in need, New York Giants, I mean, I point to you right now because here's the thing. It's interdivision. The Redskins, no way in hell will they trade Trent Williams to the Giants. But it would be a nice dream, wouldn't it? I mean, if they were able to pull off a trade and get Trent Williams, you know, and add him to that left tackle spot, Nate Solder is going to have to move over to the right tackle spot. Whew, it is a lot of money to take on, and he is looking for a raise. That's the two biggest things. So don't foresee that happening at all. But a team that is right in the hunt right now is none other than the New England Patriots. This is interesting because they still have the young tackle they drafted in the first round 2 years ago in Isaiah Wynn. Isaiah Wynn is a very promising prospect, and I believe that he was in line to start at left tackle before Trent Brown came over from San Fran, before they pulled that trade off, you know, and brought him in there. I really believe that Isaiah Wynn was going to be wholeheartedly the left tackle and the absolute starter for Week 1 for the Patriots. And due to an injury, ended up losing that. So he was out for last year. Now, I think what the Patriots are looking at is they're looking at it as an opportunity, is if they can get Trent Williams, a Pro Bowl left tackle, a proven tackle on the cheap, if they don't have to give up a lot. You know, I could see them giving up, you know, a third-round pick. You know, maybe a second. Maybe that's kind of pushing it because draft picks now are really valuable. So, and given his age and how much longer is he going to play? Is he going to play 2 more years? Maybe. Plus, you got to give him a raise on top of that. Patriots aren't usually the team that gives up big contracts. So, to give this guy a raise on top of that, I don't know. But maybe Trent would be okay with just keeping at his current salary and moving over to New England and gets an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. I mean, just saying. They are still contenders. Whether NFL fans out there like it or not, they always manage to make the right moves at the right time and make the right decisions. And until they're dethroned, until they're knocked off, they're still a contender. And they just won. So won the Super Bowl. So I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the Patriots right now? They've managed. They have the formula to get there. They make all these little decisions, and it ends up turning out to be a big impact for the team. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's interesting now. You know, what other teams would want Trent Williams right now? Of course, any team that wants a left tackle. But here's something interesting too: is why not the Miami Dolphins? You know, they're not in the division. They're a team, you know, Brian Flores is the the head coach down there in Florida, and why not strengthen that offensive line? They did lose Juwan James, a right tackle, to free agency, which made that offensive line a little bit weaker. Now, I know they're trying to, mix and mash some young, talented offensive linemen and try to get everything right there. But, man, this is an opportunity right now that you could really, really solidify that left tackle spot. Now, I know a lot of Dolphins fans out there are going to say, yeah, but you know what? We already have a left tackle. What do we need this guy for? I'm just saying you need bookend tackles. So if you were able to get bookend tackles for this Dolphins team, you got Ryan Fitzy back there. Josh Rosen is in the mix, but as of right now, coming out of Miami early on in training camp, they're saying that it's not even close. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter come week 1. So, it's just interesting here. Maybe it makes perfect sense to me. Just think about that. Trent Williams to the Dolphins, it's pretty good. That's great for the Dolphins. It's something they need. Also, another team is the Jets. Jets haven't done anything to improve that offensive line. They haven't done anything to really improve dramatically that receiving core. It's still the same receiving core. They just added Jamison Crowder. So, you know what I mean? So there's plenty of teams out there that could still use a left tackle. Dolphins, they do have Laramie Tunsil. That's what I was hinting to a second ago, but they could use bookend tackles. That's all I'm saying. They could definitely use that right tackle. Maybe you keep Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. Maybe you swing him to right tackle, because I think Tunsil is one of those very versatile type of offensive lineman. He could play, if he needed to, he could play on the right side and be just fine. So Dolphins are a team, that's the thing too, is, there's a lot of scenarios when you talk about Trent Williams and you talk about what potential landing spots right now. Patriots are one of them. Dolphins could get in the hunt. The Jets could get in the hunt. There's a lot of teams out there. Giants, but they're in division, so let's face it, that's not going to happen. Let's wait and see. Who knows? Maybe Pittsburgh Steelers could grab him. Maybe the Detroit Lions are another team that they, on paper, are supposed to have a solid O-line, but so far I haven't seen too much solid pass protection for Matt Stafford. And until they do, I think you still need to look to improve that offensive line. Houston Texans. There you go. Why not bring him in there? They have Dwayne Brown, but you need 2 tackles on both sides. Just saying, if you could make it work, if either Trent Williams could move to right or whoever's currently on the roster could move to right, that could pay huge dividends for your offensive line. That could really shut down those edge rushers. Jacksonville Jaguars, they've invested a lot of money in that offensive line. I think it's already good, especially from the draft. They've done a great job there. Atlanta Falcons, they have a little bit of concern now in Atlanta. Their rookie right tackle, he kind of went down with an injury. And could they use him? Maybe. Maybe. Carolina Panthers, they're more a predominantly running team, but who knows? How do you turn down a talent like that? There's a lot of teams. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've been needing to upgrade that offensive line for quite some time now. This is an opportunity for a lot of these teams, all throughout the league. You name it. If they got a need at tackle, why not hit up Washington Redskins right now? Why not give them a phone call, get them on the line, see what it's going to take to move them? For me personally, I think the Redskins they always look for, top-notch value. They always look to initially, they usually shoot for the stars, and it doesn't usually work. So, with a guy with this age, yes, he's a Pro Bowler, but how much does he have left? So, teams are going to have to gauge that, and whoever's interested in him, you got to jump in the hunt early. You just have to, because you got to get in there. You got to get a feel for what they're asking for him, what's going to be expected, and just when you agree on compensation, that's it. after that, then it's not just compensation. Now you have to work out a deal. It's interesting how this might all play out in the end, but it's also a little crazy. Mike Tackett just joined. What's going on, Mike? Mike Tackett in the house. Happy hump day, Joe. Yeah, it's just me. You're holding down the fort pretty good without Jimmy. Thank you. I appreciate that because I don't know. If Jimmy can't make bail in the future, I'll have to fly up from Central Florida to be the co-host. That would be excellent, Mike. I mean, I'm hoping he'll be okay. I'm hoping he'll return safe, but we'll see. Maybe tune in next week, everyone. But thanks, Mike. Thanks a lot. Yeah, so, I mean, the Redskins, they got some explaining to do. I don't know what they're going to do afterwards. I mean, yeah, they added Penn, they added Corey. But, man, that's just duct tape and bubble gum right there for that spot. I don't know if you want that for your potential rookie quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, if he wins the job or not. They might just keep him out now. You know, even if he did win the job, technically, outright through training camp, they might just still put Case Keenum in it because if they don't have Trent Williams there, I don't think I would want to feed him to the Wolves. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Do I think Trent Williams might be traded? I just have a hard time believing that. Even though Trent has, he's kind of just made a statement out there and said, nope, I'm done with them. I'm all done. Things could be smoothed over. I mean, money talks. Just saying. Maybe if they get on a, just get at the table. Just get to the table, negotiate, open the talks. Apologize if need be. Do what you got to do. But I think the Redskins really need to hold on to this guy. And if they don't, man, I'd worry about whoever's playing quarterback. Next on the docket we have in the NFC East is the Cowboys. And this is an interesting team in the offseason. I like to call it the Cowboys conundrum right now. We've said in the past couple of episodes, me and Jimmy, that Cowboys are in financial purgatory right now. Even though Stephen Jones, the GM, the vice president of the Cowboys, says no, we can afford to pay everybody. Okay, all right, settle down. I think you can initially pay all three guys right now, Zeke, Dak, and Amari Cooper. It's still going to be tough with the cap. Their cap expands next year. So those three contracts wouldn't be as difficult to do this year. Next year is a whole different ball game. However, they got a lot of big money contracts that they're going to have to re-sign some of these younger guys. Jalen Smith, Anthony Brown, Chinedobe Awuzie. Those are just a few names out there that have made names for themselves, and they're going to command big-time money. So in the future, I'm not so sure they're going to be able to afford everybody. Maybe currently, maybe if they really want Dak, okay, fine. But do I think they could be better if they move on and find the right quarterback that they need? I think so. I mean, Zeke right now is the most important guy. After that, if they really want Dak, they can go ahead and try to re-sign Dak. And Amari Cooper, who thinks he's the best receiver in the league, wants to be paid like it. I just don't see that. But going back to the Cowboys here, Dallas Cowboys linebacker, I know this is a shocker for a lot of you people, but Sean Lee suffered a minor MCL sprain in his right knee during training camp. That's pretty, that's just amazing. That's a shocker. He never gets hurt, doesn't he? Yeah. Just think of every single season since he's been playing. This guy has a bad back. He's got, bad knees. He's just kind of falling apart at this point for the Cowboys. And if Dallas Cowboys, I know he's a really good player when healthy, and he kind of holds this defense together, and he's like the backbone when he's out there, and he's making all the calls, and he's getting everybody in the right place to be successful. His mind is what you really want on the field, but his body is falling apart to the point where it's not even worth keeping him on the roster. This is a player in Sean Lee that I think they should have cut ties with this offseason, especially after they landed Leighton Vander Esch. As a rookie, we saw what this kid could do on the field. Alongside, with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, holy smokes, man. This Cowboys defense is lethal. I mean, you look at their D-line, you look at their linebacking core, you look at their secondary, their young secondary. They are tough to deal with. This Dallas Cowboys defense is something to be reckoned with. And Sean Lee, I'm sorry, he's falling apart to the point you might as well save the money. You should have either tried to trade him. You weren't going to get much for him because he is towards the end of his tenure in the league and his injury status all the time. But get what you could. Get a 7th-round pick. Whatever you can get. And just to unload that contract. Now, they've kept him on. He's hurt yet once again before the season has even started. And he's hurt again. I mean, how much longer are you going to keep this whole charade going? Dallas, I think, has to move on. I think it's time to do so. At this point, there's no trade value, because now once again he's hurt again. So you'd have to end up just cutting him, saving some money, and moving on. Also in the news, your favorite running back in the league, Ezekiel Elliott, and the Cowboys. They're kind of put together in this situation. They're both being sued for about $20 million over an alleged cover-up, get this, in a car crash. It's a cover-up for a car crash? Okay. So I read this article, and a lawsuit alleges the Dallas Cowboys interfered with a police investigation back in 2017, a traffic accident that involved running back Ezekiel Elliott. According to TMZ Sports, Ronnie Hill is seeking $20 million in damages after claiming the Cowboys conspired with the Frisco Police Department to cover up the severity of the accident to assure that Elliott's health would not be placed in question before their playoff game. What playoff game was that? Well, the crash took place on January 11th, 4 days before Dallas took on the Green Bay Packers in their divisional round of the playoffs. So there's some concern there with that, and they didn't want Ezekiel Elliott to be checked medically. They didn't everything because the lawsuit says the crash was much more severe. The collision originally was described as just a minor vehicle crash, no big deal. But the lawsuit says the crash was much more severe. Quote, if anyone had actually reported the impact of the accident and had Elliott been examined, he would have most likely been placed in concussion protocol and out for the Dallas Cowboys' upcoming playoff game. End quote. Wow. Now, if that is 100% true, that's huge. That is very huge. The accident reportedly caused more than $33,000 in damage to Hill's vehicle, just to Hill's vehicle, as well as physical injuries to Hill. So he's coming back with a vengeance. I mean, it is a car crash, and yes, it should be handled accordingly. And the Dallas Cowboys might have just tried to get away with this so they could have Zeke in the playoff game, which gave them even better hopes of taking down the Packers. And, he is their weapon. He is the number one offensive weapon on that team, no doubt. Here's the other part of the article here. Meanwhile, Hill said Cowboys the running backs coach, Gary Brown, showed up to the vehicle accident and told Hill, quote, we will take care of everything, end quote. Okay, well, Cowboys are standing up, right? And right now, it sounds like they're being legit. Hey, we'll take care of it. Don't worry, we'll pay. After failing to receive payments now from either Elliott or the Cowboys, Hill is now seeking damages for both. So my question to you know-it-alls right now is he seeking what he should be seeking? I mean, $20 million he's seeking in damages. I mean, yeah, $33,000 of it was your car. And then, I mean, and then you had some, I understand you had some health injuries and that type of thing. So overall, he's thinking $20 million. I don't know, know-it-alls. What do you think? Do you think $20 million is a little too steep in a car accident? I think it would be one thing if God forbid, Ronnie Hill ended up losing his life over this accident and the family came after the Cowboys and Zeke, then I could see $20 million. But and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but I mean, $20 million for a car accident. I mean, yeah, I understand you were banged up, your car's totaled, all that. But, man, I think he's reaching for the stars on this one. Mike Tackett says, going back, Leighton Vander Esch is the future in Dallas. Absolutely. Even if it was compensatory pick, Dallas should have got something for Sean Lee. And I completely agree, Mike. And that's really what it's really what I thought that they should have done in the offseason. I think they should have moved on. I know that the upcoming draft, they really weren't sure, but right after the draft, after they got Leighton Vander Esch, after they've obtained their future linebacker potentially, I think they should have moved on from Sean Lee. I completely agree with you. Mike Tackett also says, what rookie are you most excited about this year? For me, it's a tie between two Ravens. Wide receiver Hollywood Brown is so explosive, making the Lamar Hollywood combo feel like a video game experience. I kind of agree with you. I mean, you look at Hollywood Brown, and the kid he's had some comparison. I know it's just take it as a comparison. They're saying that he's kind of like Antonio Brown. He's kind of like a younger version of Antonio Brown. So I do kind of agree with that, but in the end, he's his own receiver. He's very explosive, very fast, has hands. I mean, he's quicker than quick. He's going to be a bona fide impact player for the Baltimore Ravens. You're right about that. And he also says D-end / outside linebacker Jalen Ferguson feels like a steal for a third-round pick. Mike, I mean, I'm right on board with you there. Jalen Ferguson, coming out of a little bit of a smaller school, not as well known, but he came out of the same school as Terrell Suggs, which was interesting. And Jalen Ferguson, in his time there, he broke Terrell Suggs' sack record, the school sack record. So it's got to show you something in the kid. The kid is he's got heavy hands. He's very strong. He's got great pass rush moves. I think he's obviously got to perfect some of the technique and all that. But Jalen Ferguson is another nice pick there. Jalen Ferguson. For me, what rookie am I excited about? You know what? A lot of people made it a big deal. Is Kyler Murray. One of the most controversial quarterbacks to be taken, and not only just to be taken, but number one overall. The Arizona Cardinals are all in on him, and a lot of people were kind of, as usual, if he's short quarterbacks, no one kind of really likes them, But I think Kyler Murray is fascinating. I think he has a cannon for an arm. He's very accurate. He's very smart, and despite his stature, he can make all the throws. I mean, even you look at Oklahoma. When he was on for Oklahoma University, when he was playing there, throughout college football, he was playing behind the tallest offensive line in the country in college football. So all those negativity and all the negativity and all the discounts are like, oh well, he's too short, he can't throw over the offensive line, he can't see, he can't do this. Quarterbacks have done it in this league. Not every short quarterback that comes out does it, but I'm just saying, this kid, I think he has something, and I'm very intrigued on him to see what he can do. I have faith in him. I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to play really well. You're already hearing accolades. And I understand, it's just the beginning of training camp, and we haven't seen him in preseason. We will very shortly. But he's one of those guys that I really kind of want to see. I really, really want to see what he can do. I'm trying to think of another rookie right now, right off the top of my head. Man, I have to get back to you on that, Mike. I can't think right now. I'm trying to do the show. I'm trying to work all the angles here. But anyway, Hollywood Gaming, he just entered in. Hollywood, welcome back. Just got to say, bud, congratulations yet again. I mean, this is this is insane. For the third straight week, the MVP, Hollywood Gaming, shows up. Welcome back. Hollywood Gaming's in for yet another week of being the MVP for the show. 3 weeks. I mean, wow. He's I'm telling you, he's coming in strong. So be ready. Be ready, everybody. Hollywood Gaming says, hey, everyone. And I was telling about that linebacker the 1 or 2 shows ago. Yeah, that's true, Hollywood. You were. I'm excited to see Bosa. Yeah, a lot of people are excited to see Bosa. The only thing about Bosa to me is I'm really kind of concerned. Like, we've already seen in college football how kind of injury prone he has been. He took the whole senior year off, was trying to concentrate on the draft and all that kind of thing, but he was injured and tried to get healthy basically. So now he managed to just recently in OTAs pull a hamstring. I mean, that's got to be a little concerning for 49ers going forward. I mean, he's already managed. I know it's just a minor injury, but he's already managed to get an injury coming in. He's supposed to be in top-notch health-wise, and he already pulls a hamstring. So that's going to be something interesting to watch throughout training camp. Now, training camp is where it gets really rough. OTAs, it's like, a walk in the park for these guys. Yeah, they're working hard. They're working all day long. But compared to training camp where you start to put the pads on, where you start to hit, more physicality, more heavier bodies pushing against you, we're going to have to wait and see what Mr. Nick Bosa can handle. Jimmy, there's Jimmy, everybody. Jimmy's here. I'm excited to see Ed Oliver. Yeah, Jimmy. And here's a funny thing about Ed Oliver is coming out of camp in Buffalo is that first, originally on, he was actually struggling. He wasn't doing that well. He was being blocked fairly easily. But I think it's the mental aspect. I think he's still thinking more than reacting. So when this guy keeps rolling forward, when he gets to that moment of not having to think about a defensive play or his responsibilities and that sort of thing, I think you're going to see a whole different Ed Oliver. I think you're going to see an absolute beast in the interior of that D-line. And he's not only just a tackle. You could move him out to D-end. He's that athletic. It's insane. Joe, get out of my chair. Jimmy, I like it. I had to do it for the show. I mean, I can't. We got all the stuff over here. We got all the monitors and everything. I had to be close by. I'm sorry, buddy. I promise you I will get out of your chair when you come back next week. How about that? Make sense? Hollywood Gaming says, kind of worried to see how Hawkins does as how good Daniel Jones does. I don't know if the Giants picked right, but we will see. And here's the thing is you're going to have a lot of – already there's been a lot of people commenting on did the Giants do the right thing? Did they get the right guy? But in the end, listen – The New York Giants, and this goes for all across the NFL. These NFL teams, like you and me, we're huge fans, guys. We love the NFL. We live, breathe, sleep the NFL. But they have information that we aren't privy to. We don't get all the information that these guys do on all these different draft prospects and all these different free agents and that sort of thing. I'm at Haskins. I meant, yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's interesting to see how Dwayne Haskins might do. And I think, you kind of came in, I don't know when you came into the show, but early on I was talking about the Redskins and how they might be dealing Trent Williams. And if they do so, it don't matter what quarterback's back there, you got to be a little bit concerned as a Redskins fan. Or if you're that quarterback, you got to be worried because now who's going to fill in that spot? Daniel Jones, going back to Daniel Jones, but all these teams, they've done a crap ton of homework. They have so much more information than we do. And even though it's fun to talk like, I think they made a mistake, I think that this guy's going to be a sleeper. I think, the world of this guy, they hit the nail on the head. It's easy for us to say, we don't think they did good, and make arguments about it. That's the fun part of being a fan. But these guys have so much information, and quite honestly, I think the Giants were full all in on Daniel Jones. I think they really believe that this is their guy of the future. And teams, to be honest with you, NFL teams don't care what we think as fans. They don't. They're the ones behind the curtain. They're the ones that find out all this different information. They do all these different workouts and that sort of thing. So let's wait and see. We have to wait and see. Now, you can't just judge a book by its cover. Even if Daniel Jones, I don't think Daniel Jones is going to get an opportunity this year, but maybe next year. Or, I mean, who knows? You never know. But Daniel Jones is interesting because he was one of those quarterbacks coming out of the draft where he was seen as the foolproof quarterback coming out of the draft. He was NFL ready. He was ready to go. So we'll wait and see. There's been a lot of praise in training camp. I seen a video one time. There was a fan that took a video of him, and he had it like, they called it a missed throw. I'm like, oh, he missed the receiver. No, actually, in that play, if you pay attention to it, the coverage was spot on. So he threw the ball away. Just saying for all the naysayers out there. Jimmy, is Jay Gruden's job safe after the season if they finish poorly? Jimmy, how does it feel to be on the other end of the show here? Now you're asking questions already. See that? I appreciate it. But Jay Gruden's job, you know what? This guy has had so many opportunities to stay as the head coach in Washington. I think, at some point, it's got to be no. I mean, this year, I think this is the year. I think he was in a hot seat a year to 2 years ago. I think now, I'm just sorry, I think now this is it. This is the last year. If they're not successful, then I think Jay Gruden's got to go. I think his whole coaching staff has to go. I think they got to restart. They have a new quarterback, and it's tough because when you have a quarterback like Dwayne Haskins, this is where I think because of the draft pick of Dwayne, I think Jay Gruden might get another year, maybe 2 at max. He might get a little bit more of a leeway because of the fresh, new, young quarterback. Because when you have a rookie quarterback, when you have a young guy coming in, or even altogether a new addition at quarterback, you need to give them time. You need to give them time to get used to the offense. The playbook is – you don't want to kind of just change everything on Dwayne Haskins' side. We're going to fire the whole coaching staff. Now you got to learn a whole new sorry, I'm laughing at Jimmy here. Sorry. I think it's can't call you yet. Okay. Yeah. Oops, can't. Yeah, I got you, Jimmy. You're all good. But anyway, I think they might give him a little bit longer of a leeway, even though he's had a very long leash. Because of Dwayne Haskins coming in, now he's going to learn this offense. Do they just kind of scrap it all and make him learn a whole new offense, bring in a whole new regime, whole new head coach? It's possible. Let's just say that. It's possible, and it could very well happen. But with Dwayne Haskins there now, it adds another new addition, another new variable that they're kind of have to really think about. What else we got? Hollywood. Jones looks like Eli, just with more speed to me, and obviously less throwing ability, but that comes with experience at this level. Yeah, Hollywood, he does. It's uncanny, isn't it? How much Daniel Jones looks like Eli Manning when they stand next to each other. It's like, here's the younger version of Eli, and here's Eli. It's like a clone almost. So I know a lot of people have kind of had fun with that, taking different pictures and doing different memes and everything. But yeah, you're right. They are very close looking alike. And I think the Giants really like Daniel Jones because he reminded them a little bit like Eli, but just had more mobility. His throwing ability, I think he's a really good passer of the football. I really do. I think he's a very smart kid. He's got more mobility than people give him credit for. Like we've seen him run at Duke. If you watch college football, he can make a difference running the ball. He really can. So I think that's another added aspect to his game that Eli doesn't have, which it's going to pay off, I think, in the future for the New York Giants. Jimmy just commented in, man, Jimmy, you're flying in here with these comments. You might be the MVP, even though you're the host of the show. So for next week. Can I be the MVP of my own show? It's looking like that right now, bud. I'm just saying. I mean, but a lot. I mean, I think you're trying to get away with something here. You did the LOL comment. You did sorry, can't call in yet. I think I might have to discount those a little bit. Hashtag Jimmy for MVP, Hollywood says. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, but okay. All right. Yeah, all right, Jimmy. We'll see. I just got to tell you, we'll see at the end of the show. Well, I'll have to recount all the comments and figure that all out. But yeah, we were. Oh man, Mike Tackett's in again. What did he say? The caveat to the Giants selecting Daniel Jones is that they selected him from a very thin, talented pool of quarterbacks, whereas next year's draft class is promising to be a much more quality quarterback-filled draft. In my opinion, for whatever that's worth, it's worth a lot, Mike. You're a pleasure to have on the show, is that they should have drafted a position of need, O-line, Mike says, or even, what does that say? Or even traded out of the first for more picks in 2020. Hebert, Tua, Eason, Fromm will all be quality quarterbacks at the next level. And, and that's the fun part of the argument, Mike. It really is. I mean, what if? Now, how about this? How about even though the next year's draft is looking promising, and you mention all those quarterbacks, Hebert being one of the bigger quarterbacks, Tua is one of the more kind of like exciting, flashy, mobile type of quarterbacks. Eason and Fromm are no joke. They are top-tier arms. So, yeah, you could make an argument and say, well, if they waited next year for the guy, and then groom that quarterback, then they would be set. And, who knows? I do agree with you saying offensive line being a huge need, and it is. But also, I think what the Giants wanted to do in retrospect here is that they wanted to have a quarterback to learn under Eli. And I'm not really sure if Eli could go another 2 more years after this year, go another year, and be, I guess he could be, but, do they really want to keep his contract, his salary on the roster just to be a teacher and not really much of a player? So I think they wanted to have him contribute and teach at the same time and not have to rush whatever rookie they selected. In this case, Daniel Jones, rush him right in. So now he'll be able to learn under Eli. But yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, we can sit here and batter the Giants for taking Daniel Jones, for battering them for taking him as early as they did. But in the end, give it 2-3 years, and then we can make a legitimate. We can have a legitimate conversation talking about were they right or wrong. Hollywood comes in. I take your advice with Melvin Gordon. I drafted him for fantasy football, so I hope we gets a contract on. Absolutely, Hollywood. Appreciate it. And I'm still really high on Melvin Gordon. I think a deal's going to get done eventually. I think this is all kind of, and we've seen this. I mean, come on. We're all know-it-alls out there. We're all NFL fans. We follow the NFL. We see this every single year. And, I mean, more times than not, the player ends up reporting eventually or gets a deal done eventually and plays out the season. So Melvin Gordon is not going to be any different. I think he's too important to this team, to this team's future. So I think they're going to work out a deal eventually, and I think all will be okay. Jimmy's commenting now. Here we go. If the Giants can't win or hold the fort down until they get Golden Tate back, do they pull the trigger on Eli? Interesting, Jimmy. I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing is I don't think they would, to be completely honest, because Eli Manning is a veteran, okay? And this is going to come right down to the offensive line, everybody. I think Eli's play is going to be dictated by how well the offensive line protects him. It's that simple. Eli is not a mobile quarterback. We all know that. He's a pocket passer. He ain't going to move very much. And if he gets that protection, he can thread the needle everywhere. And good luck for defenses trying to stop him. And I think that's with any kind of receiving talent, he'll be able to put on a good display and make a difference, even with Golden Tate not there. So I don't think they're going to be too quick to rush Daniel Jones out there, because he doesn't have the full cast, quite simply. If Eli gets Golden Tate back and he has Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram is healthy and everything's going great in that aspect, and he's still struggling, maybe a week or two after that 4 game, maybe six weeks into the season, if Eli's still struggling, I think depending on whenever the Giants' bye week is, I think that is the time where if they're going to take Eli out, they would take him out during the bye week so they have added time to prepare. Hollywood, with the system the Giants have, Eli could play for 4 more years, in my mind. He doesn't take hits if you watch when he gets sacked. He just falls. He plays smart with his body long term. You're right, Hollywood. He doesn't take a lot of big hits, hardly any, and Peyton Manning, his brothers probably taught him a little bit about that. I mean, we've seen Peyton Manning, especially towards the end of his years, he kind of just lay down as like a lawn chair as soon as he saw a guy coming free. So, but yeah, Eli's managed to keep his body fairly healthy for the long term, and I think it's going to pay off dividends for him. Hollywood also goes, that being said, I don't know if they will have an amazing seasons. I just think he could last that long. You never know. But here's the thing is like, it's kind of tricky though too, because if you say 4 more seasons, if in fact that is a play for the Giants, a play for Eli, his contract's got to come way down, because the longer he gets, he's going to have to hand that torch over to Daniel Jones, probably most likely by next year, or at some point next year, because this organization has to move forward. And it's okay if he wanted to stay there and be like kind of the backup and the inspirational teacher and that sort of thing. But again, he's not getting any younger. He's won a couple of Super Bowls with this team. He's been there, done that as a veteran. He's been a consummate professional, and he's had a great career, to say the least. So, being all that said, I mean, if I was him, when I lost love for the game even a little bit, I think it'd be time to retire. So, do I see him playing 4 more years? I don't. I think that's a little too long. But you're right. He has done a good job keeping his body healthy. All right. Now, I'm going to get back to the Cowboys thing here. So, going back to this car accident with Ezekiel Elliott, those of you that are just tuning in, to shorten it all up, there's a car accident, and the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott are being sued for, get this, $20 million. It is a car accident. Damages to the car was about $33,000 for the plaintiff in Ronnie Hill, and he also had to deal with some injuries from the car crash. What ended up happening is this happened on January 11th, 4 days before the Cowboys faced Green Bay Packers in a divisional playoff game. So you could see the big impact this could be. The Cowboys are seen as sweeping it under the rug. The running backs coach showed up to the accident, promised that they would pay him accordingly, and everything will get worked out. Ronnie Hill, the plaintiff, has received no payment, hasn't received any kind of accommodations to give him money for a new car or pay for his medical bills or whatever, that. So they kind of swept it under the rug. And right now they're being found out, and Ronnie Hill is pursuing the Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott for damages, and to the sum of $20 million. So I ask you know-it-alls, once again, you think the $20 million lawsuit for a car crash and some health injuries, you think it's worth $20 million? I understand it's the Cowboys. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. It's worth billions, the Cowboys are. And Ezekiel is a big figure. So I'm myself. I think 20 million is like shooting for the stars. It's absolutely insane to me that that's what he's shooting for in a car accident. So I don't know. I mean, Zeke. I'm sorry, but Zeke just has trouble following him everywhere. Every offseason comes, he's always doing something. He is doing something that's in the wrong, or he's in a troubled situation and ends up getting pinned for it. So this is yet another problem that the Cowboys are going to have to deal with, and Zeke. And I don't know, like, what's the end result here? It is a car accident, so is it a big deal to the NFL? No, absolutely not. It's just them. But it shows the character. This is the problem. It shows Zeke's character and not taking care of something and admitting to it. Because here's the thing, is the Cowboys wanted to cover this whole situation up because it was playoffs. They didn't want him to be medically checked. And people involved in the accident say that if he was medically checked, he most likely would have came up positive for concussion. And if that was a fact, he wasn't going to be able to play in the playoff game. So that's what's making this a big deal. I don't know. I mean, what's the end result for the Cowboys? I think they just got to pay. Just pay the guy. Not $20 million. But, I mean, all right, whatever. Give the guy $100,000. Settle it. Just be done with it type of thing. And going in, since we already kind of dived into the Zeke and Cowboys thing, now what about the Zeke holdout? Jerry Jones told the local CBS affiliate in Dallas, quote, "The point is you don't have to have a rushing champion to win a Super Bowl," end quote. Interesting, Jerry, because you have not won a Super Bowl without a rushing champion. When the Cowboys won Super Bowls 28 and 30 in 1993 and 95, Emmitt Smith was, in fact, the NFL's rushing champion. So you can tell through history with the Dallas Cowboys, they've always had a stout offensive line. They've had a great running back, and that's kind of what keeps the organization going. So I don't know, Jerry. I don't know about that. I think you need Zeke to win a championship. Hollywood, what are you chiming in here? Hollywood says, I think the Cowboys need a new head coach in my mind. He worked with Romo, didn't win in the playoffs, worked with Prescott, and I think he has one playoff win. I think to move to the next level, to move on. I will say this, Jason Garrett does deserve to be fired because basically, here's the thing, is anybody that takes that head coaching duty in Dallas, they're a figurehead. They're a puppet. They're just a puppet. Jerry Jones dictates, Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones in the front office, they dictate how they want the offense to run and how they want certain players to play. Because, throughout the course of history, they've had favorites. And it's not always, football knowledge that's dictating the decisions. It's, the fan club up in the booth with Jerry. So, I mean, yeah, you can go ahead and fire the head coach. Yeah, do they need a new one? Sure, because he's not really a head coach. He's a puppet for Jerry. And the next guy that comes in most likely will be another puppet. Because if you look at the Cowboys' history with head coaches, you look at some of the more predominant head coaches that have been there, and the more important that they are that take that position, there's always a discomfort. There's always a clash of egos between Jerry and a big-named head coach. It never really works out. He's there 1-2 years, and then Jerry Jones fires him. So that type of avenue won't really work. The next guy that comes in, who knows? It could be very well like John Kitna, who's like he's the offensive coordinator now for the Cowboys. I mean, he would probably just be right in line to take over the head coaching job. Oh, it's a new face. Most likely a new offense, new this, new that. In the end, it's not going to work. That's my opinion. Dak Prescott, I'm sorry, he is not the answer for the Cowboys going forward. The Dallas Cowboys have had to cater to Dak Prescott's strengths in order to have an offense. That's why you see him very successful in play action, because they have Zeke get back there. So they utilize play action a lot. They get him out. He's a fairly mobile quarterback. He throws to short to intermediate passes, great. But deep balls, can't hit anybody. He has a really hard time, unless the guy's wide open. But he has a really, really hard time with every aspect of being a quarterback. So, and that's why I compare Dak Prescott to kind of like Cam Newton. They're very similar. Not the same, but very similar. Cam is obviously more physical and has the mobility gift there that he can truck over some people. But, they're both very similar. They both have very strong arms. They're very accurate for short to intermediate pass routes. And unlike Dak, Cam utilizes a lot of the big receivers to throw to. So unless their receivers get wide open or have good size, they struggle with connecting with their respected receivers. Everybody wants to blame the coach, but I think with the Dallas Cowboys, I think a lot of it has to do with the play on the field from the players. I think that Dak Prescott may, in fact, just not be the guy. He's not the guy for Dallas to really kind of take it to that next level. Like, they have a nice situation there, but we mentioned beforehand, financially, it's going to get really tough for this Cowboys team. They might have to hit the reset button pretty soon. So, now what's next? You got Zeke. You got the accident. Ezekiel Elliott now, since he's holding out, he just decides to fly to Mexico on vacation, right? That's what people are reporting anyways. People are saying, he went to Mexico on vacation. Now, we know that Ezekiel Elliott last year kind of went to Mexico to work out while he was being suspended to try to stay in shape. Maybe he's doing the same thing. Maybe he's going to Mexico. He's going to work out there and stay in shape until the Cowboys come to realization that, hey, we really need this guy. Let's just go get a deal done and sign him. But the Cowboys' response to the Mexican vacation on Monday was to add veteran Alfred Morris to the squad. Running back Alfred Morris, if you remember, he played for the club in 2016 and 2017 and took over as the starter during Ezekiel Elliott's 6-game suspension. During that span, Alfred Morris had 27 carries for 127 yards and a touchdown. And that all happened against none other than the Washington Redskins. So if you're looking at the stats, if you're looking at the production, with that offensive line, that just goes to show you that almost any good running back could run behind that O-line and be successful. Now, am I saying Alfred Morris is just as good as Elliott? Hell no. No. Ezekiel Elliott is a difference maker. He is one of the best running backs in the league. But what I'm saying is the production, you can still have similar production. A source told James Slater of NFL Network that Elliott and the Cowboys were not even close to a new deal, noting they are far apart on everything, on every layer, whether it be contract length, the amount of money per year, the guaranteed money, any other different criteria in the contract, bonus money, anything. While the running back has 2 years remaining on his current deal, including the 5th-year option on his rookie deal worth $9.1 million, he is seeking a new deal before he returns to the field. Hey, I mean, if you play at a certain level, you should be compensated, right? So, that's the other aspect of this is, like, they're not even – I mean, I know it's early in talks, but they're not even close. They're not even on the same wavelength, not even on the same parallel. That's terrible. You got to get close here. Hollywood coming in again. His teammate came out saying he's not worried about his shape because he is working out up there, and I think it was their center, Travis Frederick. Yeah, Travis Frederick did state that he wasn't worried about Ezekiel Elliott reporting yet or holding out to get a new deal and that sort of thing. So, but, I mean, why would you be worried? It's so early. I mean, training camp literally just started, a few days ago. So, yeah, I think again, I do have to agree with Travis Frederick there too. Is that I think he did go to Mexico just to stay in shape. I think that's what he did last year when he was suspended. So I figure that he's still going to be working hard, trying to stay in the best possible shape that he can be before he could get into football shape, playing with his team. So, but here's the other thing too here is that he does have 2 years remaining on his deal. Now, I mean, I'm sorry, but I know holding out is one way that players, and it's kind of like the only leverage that players have is like, I'll hold out unless you pay me money type of deal. But Zeke does still have 2 more years on his deal and a team option fifth year option. He's still on his rookie deal. So it's kind of tough. When you try to hold out this, it's kind of like in the middle of his contract he's holding out. Not even like a year prior before it expires or something like that. That I would be like okay with, like, okay, yeah, go ahead and hold out, try to get a deal worked out between you and the team. But he's still got 2 years remaining and a 5th year option for $9 million. So I don't know. And here's the thing too, is like he's noticing, the Todd Gurley got paid $14.5 million on average per year. He sees Le'Veon Bell getting a deal for $11.3 million or something on average per year. Devontae Freeman's getting paid $9 million on average per year. And he wants to get paid like those top-tier running backs. But I think if Zeke waited another year, played this whole season out, and then started contract negotiations in the offseason next year, I think it would have went a little bit smoother. But now with 2 years remaining, plus you have that team 5th year option on there because he was a first-round pick, that's going to be a little bit tougher. It's a tougher pill to swallow for the Cowboys. I think he is the most important player on that roster right now, though. How important is Zeke? Well, let's just say that without Zeke, Dak Prescott struggles playing quarterback. Without Zeke, they don't really they have a hard time moving the ball. So that offense is really surrounded by his running ability and that offensive line. That offensive line also puts a ton of pressure on opposing defensive linemen, trying to wear them out over the course of the game with Zeke also pounding the rock. I mean, it's a daunting task to stop Zeke in that offensive line. So I think he's the most important. You got to take care of Zeke. Now, could you try to give him a little bit bump in salary? Sure, because if you look at his deal, he's still on a cheap deal for this team. I think they could give him a little bit of a bump in salary, but keep the same policies and the same checks and balances in the contract. Still hold on to that 5th year option for the team, but just give him a little bit of bump, just to try to smooth things over, just try to get him back into camp and get him prepared for the season, and then tell him next season we could work out a deal, a multi-year deal. So this is going to be interesting to watch for because he is the most important player. I think they could get away with finding a different quarterback and trying to. I just don't think Dak Prescott's worth $35 million. I'm sorry. He's not elite status. He's in moderate status at best. So I mean, there you go. You got Zeke. You got the Cowboys. There's all kinds of problems there, and that's concerning. You got to wonder what's the next step now. So I do think this is going to be just kind of like the situation of Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, he's holding out towards the end of his deal. Well, Zeke is holding out in the middle of his deal. So either way, I think these two things are going to get worked out. They're both going to be there for week 1. I just don't see this running into the season because when those game checks start to drop, they're going to want to be there to collect them. It's that simple. It's a money-driven league. It's a business more than anything. Hollywood says, I do agree with what you said that the Cowboys haven't won without a dominant rusher. But the game has changed. I don't think the number one rusher has won a Super Bowl in a long time. And that's true. But for the Cowboys, in my opinion, they are so hell-bent on having that type of offensive style. The Cowboys are more of a what am I trying to say here? They're more of an old school offense. That's really what they are. They run first. They grind out the defenses. They run with Zeke behind that offensive line. They pound the rock, wear the defensive front down until they can go ahead and do a play action pass with Dak. Get the receivers open that way. And they're an old school offense that way. So they haven't yet had a offense in a long time that's more modern, where it's kind of like, the quarterback has to make the plays, the running back makes his plays once in a while, more balanced of an offense, more spread out type of an offense where there's not as much rushing, hardly at all. Because now modern day, it's all about 3 receivers at least on the field. It's no longer 2 receivers, a fullback, and a running back, in the backfield, and let's mostly run. Now it's more all about airing it out constantly. You look at the Atlanta Falcons, you look at the New Orleans Saints, you look at even the New England Patriots. All the better offenses in the modern day era, they're all throwing like crazy. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, the passing numbers compared to rushing numbers is just obsolete. It's crazy. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, yeah, I think the Cowboys are still stuck back in the 1990s. Still, they're still running a similar offense. They do run heavy still, but the quarterback play just isn't there. You look at guys when they had Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman. That was more of a balanced team. When you had Troy Aikman, one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history, throwing the ball all over the place, Michael Irvin at wide receiver. I mean, they had a nice trio going there. But still, even then, even with Troy Aikman, even a Hall of Famer like Troy Aikman, they still ran the ball a lot. They ran the ball heavy. So, I mean, until I think that changes, I think this is the formula that the Cowboys got to stick with. They got to run heavy, and they got to play off of the run with Dak Prescott and throwing the short to intermediate passes. So we've seen it be successful at times, but I think to get them over into that Super Bowl hunt, I think they need an all-around quarterback, not just a toy back there. Jimmy, if your identity is run the ball because that is your best player and rely on good defense, and you might not have that player, you're in trouble. Look at the Jags last year. Jimmy, good point. Absolutely. I mean, that was a team that but here's the thing about that team is that they had Bortles at quarterback. Not a threat. Everybody knew how his game was. Everybody knew his tendencies. He just wasn't very good. Wasn't the most accurate. Wasn't the most disciplined. Made a lot of bad decisions. And quite frankly, in order to be relevant, he had to run with the ball. But yes, you're right. They were a heavy run team, and they had a good defense. However, that defense failed them because the defense was on the field all the time. I mean, they didn't have any rest. It was terrible. They were gassed by the third quarter because the offense would go 3 and out almost every time. So now with Nick Foles, though, that gives them a legitimate shot right now to have more of a balanced offense, which is going to make it tougher on whatever defenses they play. Because Nick Foles, I'm sorry, it's kind of laughable how much better Nick Foles is to Blake Bortles. So I think this offense, you're going to see a big uptick, a big step forward this season. Even though they have some young receivers and all that, they got a really good, healthy offensive line in front of them. They got running backs. I just think it's going to be interesting to watch. That's for sure. Hollywood, I agree. Prescott is not the guy who is going to take you far. That's why if they want to win, their best chance right now is Zeke. Absolutely. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, if they're going to have a chance to win now, which their window is another one. They're another one of those teams like the Vikings where their window to win the Super Bowl is closing right now this year. Because financially, I have no idea how they're going to be able to afford. I think they can afford, if they really want to give all that money to Dak, I think it's crazy. But Zeke is one thing. Amari Cooper, I just don't understand why he wants top-tier money for receiver. He hasn't really done much in the NFL to proven that he's just not elite. It's that simple. For a guy high first-round draft pick, Amari Cooper is now claiming, I want elite money. What have you done, dude? Nothing. You haven't done anything. You had small success with the Cowboys towards the end of the season, the second half of the year. That's great. Just saying. So, but yeah, I think in the end, I think they got to win now with Zeke, and if they don't, telling you, reset button, man. They got way too many big deals coming up that they're going to have to pay these youngsters. Way too many big deals. I just don't see it. I don't know how. Maybe they can, who knows? Maybe they can work some backsided deals with these players or something. I mean, we've seen it with the Washington Redskins in days past. They gave before the CBA and everything, the contract talks and everything changed. Washington Redskins were able to get away with murder. They would pay low base salaries to these big-name free agents and pay them huge signing bonuses. And that's how they got all these players all in at once, and we're still under the cap. Now you can't do that. Now there's stipulations in place where you just can't give them a low base salary and just give them a load of signing bonus money. So thank God for that. But now moving on, Mike Tackett. Before we move on, we're going back to Mike Tackett live. So what do you with Leonard Fournette? What do you do with Leonard Fournette if you're the Jags? Do you try to make it work, or do you try to shop him? Losing Carlos Hyde to Kansas City doesn't help their case. It's interesting, right? And here's the thing, too, is coming up in the drop, there's another running back who I already thought was on the Jaguars roster. And in turn, he just signed a new deal elsewhere. And he's one of my favorite kind of sleeper type of running backs. So he's no longer a Jag that I learned now. You got Leonard Fournette, who they kind of had a clash last year. The organization and Leonard Fournette didn't see eye to eye. There was threats before the trade deadline that they might even trade Leonard Fournette back then. They end up going ahead and they grab Carlos Hyde in a trade last year. And I thought that trade was going to solidify it. I thought that they were going to ship Leonard Fournette after they obtained Carlos Hyde, but that didn't happen. I was kind of shocked a little bit about it. But I mean, here's a guy, Leonard Fournette. He gets injured every year, and this is what the team is frustrated right now. At this point, they're frustrated that he keeps getting injured. They don't have him on the field, and they just keep paying him money. I mean, it's not crazy money, but they're still paying him, and he's not doing what they drafted him to do. Now, you got to be on the field. You got to help out this offense. And now that you have Nick Foles, you have a legit opportunity to make a push. You still have a credible defensive team to make a push in the playoffs now. They were in it 2 years ago with Blake Bortles. If they can keep the same players this year, that's a big if. A lot of money being paid on that defensive end, on the defensive side of the ball. But now's the time for the Jags to make a push. After this year, there's going to be changes being made for that defensive front, for that defensive side of the ball. A lot of big money contracts, all that type of deal. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Leonard Fournette, I think the Jaguars, they kind of got to roll with him. Now Carlos Hyde isn't there. So, their depth is gone. TJ Yeldon, he's gone now. He actually did a very, very good job and held it down when Leonard Fournette left for the Jaguars. He ended up leaving in free agency. Now he's a Buffalo Bill. I think in Buffalo, I think LaShawn McCoy's the writing's on the wall for LaShawn McCoy this year. I think he's going to end up being a cap casualty. I think he's going to be cut right before camp ends. So they did sign Frank Gore. They have TJ Yeldon now. So they have some pieces there that, why would you sign another aging running back? That's my thing. So it's a little odd for me. So I think McCoy is on his way out and his salary. But yeah, I think in the end, I think Leonard Fournette. I think they're gonna, let bygones be bygones, and they're gonna go into this season with Leonard Fournette. I don't think they're going to trade him. I really don't, because they no longer have the depth that they once had. So I think because of that, they're going to have to they're going to have to roll with Leonard Fournette. Hollywood. Losing Yeldon is going to hurt, I think. Yep, definitely. I mean, I was just saying it, and on same wavelength. So, yeah, I just, I think it's going to sting a lot. And because of that, this is going to be critical for them. Leonard Fournette has to stay healthy this year. I think this is the absolute done. This is it. This is it. Jaguars are saying, you know what? Okay, you're going to come back healthy again. We need you to be healthy all year long. If you're not healthy all year long, if you're missing a large amount of time, then I definitely could see the Jaguars cutting the cord and saying, you know what, we're done. We're not going to deal with this anymore. We're going to go find a different running back. We're going to go in the draft next year, go in free agency depending on who's there. I think this is it. This is the year. This is it for Leonard Fournette. He has to prove himself right now to Jacksonville. And we'll have to wait and see. And last but not least, Eagles. Eagles and the NFC East, their evaluation, it's not going to be as dramatic as the Cowboys or the Redskins or the Giants because they've been going through some things, going a lot through trials and tribulations there. But the Eagles, here's what's interesting about the Eagles. They don't have any big headlines. They don't have any, they got a couple of injury. They got bit by the injury bug a couple times and that sort of thing. But overall, I mean, this is a pretty solid roster right now for the Eagles. Not too long ago, a couple of years ago, they were in the Super Bowl and they won it. They still have a roster that's capable of returning to the Super Bowl and winning it this year. They could win this division. I mean, this division is one of the most difficult divisions to win, and it's always close at the end. Always. It's always within a game or two. It makes for great football. As a football fan, it's exactly what you want. Competition, all that. But here's what's interesting about this team. Now, is the Eagles, are they Super Bowl ready right now? I think they are. I mean, you look at the returning guys, guys that got injured last year. Jason Peters, he's back at left tackle, Pro Bowl left tackle. Isaac Suomalo for the offensive line, great, talented there. Jason Kelsey's still there. Brandon Brooks, another talented offensive lineman. Lane Johnson. Now, Lane Johnson is just like Jason Peters, though. These guys got to stay healthy. They have to. And that's why you saw in this past draft where the Eagles took in the first round, they took another tackle. They took Andre Dillard, one of the most athletic tackles coming out, and really impressive kid. I mean, really, really impressive. Smart, super athletic, quick feet. I mean, tremendously quick feet, great technique, and he doesn't even look like an offensive lineman. His body is just put together in such a way that it's just like the kid could play basketball, for crying out loud. He's a big guy, but, I mean, that's what he looks like. He looks like he could do any sport. And then you look at the receiving core. Alshon Jeffrey was with that Super Bowl team. Deshaun Jackson is the new addition this year for them. He returns back to Philly after kind of like planting roots in Tampa Bay, Florida for a while. Now he's back to his old team. He's back to his old crew here. He's looking to attack the ball deep. He could be a nice addition to this team because honestly, they've been missing that element of their game. They've been missing that deep threat that could take the top off the defense on the back end. So they get that in Deshaun Jackson. Now, again, he's another guy. He's getting a little bit older. Can he stay healthy all through the year? That remains to be seen. But Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, okay, you got some veterans there. Nelson Aguilar. Now, as bad as Nelson Aguilar has had last year, the season last year was dismal for him. But early on in training camp, I'm hearing a lot of praise about Nelson Aguilar. I think it was today or yesterday, he was unstoppable. He was just beating everybody. So that, and that's great to see for the Eagles because he didn't have such a great year last year. And here's the other thing too, is you don't have just these returning vets. You also got some rookies involved here. Arcega-Whiteside. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, this kid is going to be lethal. Lethal. He was a big-time sleeper in my book coming out of the draft. He's very fast, very quick, great hands. I could definitely see this rookie right here making a push for getting not just time, but also maybe even pushing to start. And maybe that's why Nelson Aguilar is either working harder or just playing all out better. What we got here? Hollywood says, speaking about player health, do you think OBJ will stay healthy on the Browns? And that's a funny thing. Do I think he can stay healthy? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, OBJ, you look at his past history, he's always managed to get some kind of an injury every year, even with the Giants. And even with those injuries, he's put up stacked numbers. I mean, insane. Just imagine what this guy could do if he remains healthy all year. I think he's going to be a big impact for the Browns. I think he's going to be one of the favorite targets, obviously, for Baker Mayfield. And he's teamed up back with Jarvis Landry, his old college teammate. I think that offense is going to be very, very difficult to match up against. Do I think he stays healthy? Who knows? I mean, it's like, you really don't know. I mean, health-wise, do I think he can? Maybe. But, again, history doesn't dictate that. He always manages to get some kind of injury. So, pulled hamstring, tweaks his knee, whatever, has an ankle issue, sprains his ankle. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see how everything works out with the Cleveland Browns. If he stays healthy, watch out for him. He's going to be a difference maker for sure. Jimmy goes, I told everyone the Cowboys should move on from Sean Lee. It may be too late now. And Jimmy, just was talking about that earlier on. And you know what? And Mike also. I'll say, Mike Tackett also brought it up as well that they should have moved on, right after the draft. I mean, I know they wanted to hold on because mentally, he's sharp as a tack. He's one of the best linebackers to see the offense, to call the checks and audibles on the football field, to get everybody defensively in the right spot. But his body's falling apart. Me and Jimmy have had this conversation last night. We were talking about this before he said, "Oh, well, bye, Joe. See you later." But Sean Lee, it's too late now. They got Leighton Vander Esch, and right there and then they should have cut the cord. They should have tried to trade him during the draft, actually. Right after they made that pick for Vander Esch, they should have started shopping him on the trade block. They should have tried to get a deal done. A 6th-round pick, a 7th-round pick. We'll take anything. A box of candy bars. That'll even work. But unfortunately, they didn't get it. They didn't decide to do that. So now they're stuck right here. He's injured yet again. He's longer in the tooth. He's at the end of his career. I mean, Sean Lee should just hang him up, to be honest. And if he doesn't do it, I think the Cowboys need to usher him out the door. I think they need to cut the cord. They need to save some money. And they're going to need all the money they can get to sign these players. But, yeah, Jimmy, I agree as well. I think the Eagles' ship has sailed. Interesting, Jimmy. What do you think that? I mean, you look at this roster here. It's pretty good. I mean, they have almost identical talent across the board, maybe even improved talent on certain positions to make a Super Bowl run and win it. Hollywood goes, do you think OBJ's production will go down with having so many targets on that team? No. Actually, I don't, because OBJ, he is one of the best route runners, receivers in this league. It's insane. I was watching some footage of training camp of him against the starting corners. Not Denzel Ward, essentially, but still, nonetheless, guys that were trying out for the other side. But I'm telling you, even if Denzel Ward was on him, good luck. Good luck to any corner that's trying to on a comeback route. Oh, my God. Absolutely insane. I mean, a guy to go run full burst, full speed, and to just stop on a dime and turn and come back for the ball, it was poetry in motion. I'm sorry. The guy is going to be super hard to stay with. I think he's going to command a lot of targets, even though they have Landry, even though they have David Njoku and company. Antonio Callaway, if he can stay healthy and stay on the right path, I still think he's going to go off. So going back to the Eagles here, so they got a solid offensive line still. They got Andre Dillard as insurance for either one of those tackles being hurt. They also have Stefan Wisniewski, who started at some points last year for them, so he's a nice depth piece. And an interesting guy, Voltai. I don't even want to try to pronounce his last name. Hold on. Halapolavita. Halapolavati. Whatever. I tried. But at right tackle, he's the guy that is an ex-rugby player who they drafted late in the 7th round a couple years ago, and they're developing him to be the future tackle for this team. Guy's a gigantic monster. I mean, I don't know how he played rugby, but he's a phenomenal athlete. He's like 6'8", 340. I don't know what his real measurements are, but I know he's super big. It's just insane. He's like 6'9", something like that, and like over 300 pounds. The guy's muscle. There's no fat. He's muscle. He's absolutely insane. So if they could develop him in technique-wise and everything, oh, my God. Could have a potential Pro Bowler in the future with him. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. I mean, Goedert. That's what I think is how you pronounce it. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, 2 tight ends that are really good. We haven't really seen much of Dallas yet, but Zach Ertz is Pro Bowl material all through and through. He's absolutely tremendous. So, again, the weapons. Carson Wentz is returning now healthy again. Yes, I do know he's got to stay healthy in order for Carson Wentz's health is everything to this team right now. They could easily go to the Super Bowl and win it with Carson Wentz. Easy, I think. But it all is determined on Carson Wentz's health. And I don't care if you're the offensive line. I don't care if you get 50 holding penalties this year. If it means that Carson Wentz is going to take a devastating hit, you hold on for dear life. You take the penalty because you need this guy to be upright. Jordan Howard they acquired at running back with Corey Clement and a sleuth of just running back talent right there. Wendell Smallwood is still there. I mean, Donnell Pumphrey. The list goes on and on. Josh Adams. Darren Sproles, everybody. He signed for another year. It's insane. This guy he keeps getting older and keeps playing at top level. And then they drafted Miles Sanders. So they are stacked at running back depth. Their offense is looking really good. Not to mention their offensive defense as well. Hollywood just chimed in. He goes, I don't think the Eagles will make a deep run. In my mind, ever since Carson got hurt, he plays different, and I don't know, he's just missing that edge. You know what? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't think that. I think that the injury he had to come back from was so bad for him. He didn't heal fast as everybody anticipated. I think that's what it was. I think because he didn't heal quickly, I think he was more mentally thinking about that injury and trying to protect himself than just playing. But here's the thing that Carson's got to learn. Just like Jimmy G. I mean, we could say the same things about Jimmy G because so far, Jimmy G just gets hurt. Every year he's gotten hurt. So Carson Wentz has to do the same thing as Jimmy G. We preach and preach and preach. Slide before you get hit or run out of bounds. Do not take big hits. And if you're in the backfield and you can't get away and there's no way around it, just get down. Just get down. Take the sack. Be smart. Be careful. Quarterbacks are too important in this league. Going back to the defense here, Derek Barnett, young, stellar defensive end. He was hurt last year. He's coming back. Vinny Curry, they signed back. He's a veteran. He was in Tampa last year. Now he's back with the Eagles to help with the depth there. Timmy Jernigan, I hear rave reviews about Timmy Jernigan right now in training camp, saying that he's a much better player with Philadelphia. Fletcher Cox, don't even really need to say anything. Guy's one of the best D tackles in football. Malik Jackson's interesting. Here's a guy that was with the Broncos, was kind of getting that Pro Bowl category. Everybody was excited about him. Free agency, there was a lot of teams after him. Went to Jacksonville. Didn't really play that great in Jacksonville. Don't know if it was a scheme or anything. And now finds himself with the Eagles, and he's going to look to make an impact there, especially with a really star-studded line here. And Brandon Graham's one of the best DNs as well. He is getting a little older, but nonetheless, very good as well. Linebackers. Here's the interesting thing is I think they're missing too many linebackers. I mean, they do have Nigel Bradham, really good linebacker. They have him there. Zach Brown, a guy coming from Washington. I don't know how well he's going to perform in this defensive scheme, but he is one of the faster middle linebackers there is in the league. So it'll be interesting. When you look deeper and you look at L.J. Fort from the Pittsburgh Steelers. You look at Paul Warlow, a guy who played for the Detroit Lions. He also played for the Atlanta Falcons. These are nice depth pieces for this team. So I think it's going to be a little bit of give and take and try to figure out who's going to play that other outside linebacker spot. But overall, I still think they have some good players there. I mean, you look at Zach Brown, I think he's really good. Nigel Bradham, good. Do I think that they're elite? I think Jordan Hicks was better than Zach Brown, and he's gone to the Cardinals this year. So I think it's a decent pickup for them to fill that gap. But then you look at the secondary. Now, here's an interesting thing about the secondary is that I think it's kind of underrated a little bit. You look at, Ronald Darby. He was out there in free agency. He ended up coming back to the Eagles. He was hurt last year, so he missed the rest of the season. You got Rodney McLeod. I mean, a really, really good safety. He's going to be playing free safety for them. Malcolm Jenkins is holding out right now. And I don't know how that's going to all shake out. I think in the end, I think Malcolm Jenkins is just going to have to come and play for the Eagles. He's already getting paid good money. I just don't get it. If he holds out longer, look for ex-Minnesota Viking Andrew Sadeo to take over that role. But also LeBlanc there. Cravion LeBlanc. He's a very, very good pass protection corner. He's almost like shutdown. He's very young last year. He came in late. He worked his tail off. And, he made some plays. Made some real good plays. He was all over it. You got Jalen Mills. Again, he's on the PUP list right now. But he's going to be, most likely he'll be healthy before training camp is over. And Sidney Jones. This is a guy that I've been pounding the table for since he was drafted. He had a major injury coming out of college. He's still recouping from it. We saw a little bit of play last year from him. I'm hoping that he's healthy this year to really show what he can do for this secondary. And I think overall, if these guys get healthy by week 1, I think you're going to see one of the better secondaries in the league. I really do. I think that they're a very underrated and young team, besides Malcolm Jenkins, that is. You look at that team overall, and it's like, on paper, I'm sorry, they're an improved team. They look all the part to make a deep run. Quite simply, Eagles O-line is the key to that offense. They got to protect Carson Wentz by any means necessary. And we already looked at the whole team basically. So, but they are something to be reckoned with, I think. And I'd watch out for them. I definitely think that that'll be something to watch out for. Let's see. Any more comments here? Hollywood. He said, any news on Trey Boston? As of right now, there's nothing official out there. We know that he had a workout with the New York Giants. Also, I can't remember who the other safety was, but 2 safeties went in for workouts, Trey Boston being one of them. And I definitely thought that I think if the Giants were smart, you got to sign Trey Boston. For nothing else, just insurance. But this is a guy that could start for you easily. He's a difference maker. I think Trey Boston, I think the world of him. I'm actually surprised that, even early on in free agency, I know they went for LaMarcus Joyner, but the Raiders, I thought that they could go for Trey Boston because I know he came out and said that he wanted to stay on the West Coast. So that was his, that's what he was hoping for. But clearly that's not going to happen. So, Trey Boston, he's still out there. He's still waiting to be signed. let's wait and see. I mean, maybe a couple more days, you might see the Giants just end up pulling the trigger on Trey Boston. So, I think it's time. I think it's time to go to the only know-it-all in the know fact of the day, everybody. And then I lost everybody. Yeah, see that? See that? That's how it works. There we go, black screen. There we go. There we go. No, I see. I knew I was going to screw something up, everybody. I knew I was going to do something wrong. But baseball's Philadelphia Athletics, managed by Connie Mack and the Philadelphia Phillies, formed professional football teams in 1902, joining the Pittsburgh Stars in the first attempt at a pro football league named the National Football League. The Athletics won the first night football game ever played, 39-0 over the Canawita Athletic Club at Elmira, New York, November 11th, 1902. Pretty amazing, right? I mean, that's just. I mean, I have to give a ton of credit to Jimmy because he always manages to come out with some informational and surprising and sometimes shocking facts about the NFL or about football in general. So, I mean, yet another great one. That's all I got to say. You know, and it's, I don't know how he does it, but he finds this stuff. He just hammers it until he gets it. But any other know-it-alls out there? Do you have any friends that like football? You any friends that love football like you do? Go ahead and you know, kind of usher them along the way to go hit us up on YouTube, Football on the Know Show. Hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, so that way you can get all the latest and most updated content from me and Jimmy. Well, whenever Jimmy's here, that is. But also, you can also follow us on Twitter for any kind of updated NFL news around the world there at FB_know, as well as other social media outlets at FB_know as well. But I think we're going to move on here. I think, you know what? I just think it might be time. I think it might be time for the drop.
This is the drop.
Oh yeah, it went all black. You see that? Man, the transition is crazy. God, Jimmy, get here soon. All right, we're heading into the drop here. We got Pro Football D tackle Mike Daniels, of everybody, has been released by the Green Bay Packers after 7 seasons. I mean, Mike Daniels then reached a 1-year, $9.1 million contract agreement with the Detroit Lions recently that will guarantee him $7.8 million next season, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. This is a defensive tackle, that Pro Bowl type of tackle. I know he's a little bit older, you know, like 33 years old, but guy that can still bring it. He still brings the heat every down. The Tennessee Titans have reached a deal to make none other than safety Kevin Byard the highest paid in NFL history. The deal is a 5-year, $70.5 million contract extension with $31 million guaranteed. He will average about $14.1 million per season. Allen Hurns has agreed with the Dolphins after being released by the Dallas Cowboys to a 1-year deal, $3 million contract. And interesting enough, Allen Hurns, the Cowboys wanted to diminish his salary cap number, and Allen Hurns didn't see it the same way. They said, go ahead and shop around. So he ends up with the Dolphins here. The Rams have extended the contracts of head coach Sean McVay and GM Les Snead through the 2023 season. As Lindsey Thury reported, Rams continue to solidify their future as they prepare to move into their new stadium. With Garrett Selleck the tight end unavailable for at least the first 6 weeks of games. The 49ers added depth recently at tight end. The club signs 7-year veteran Niles Paul, reported by Mike Garafolo. Bobby Wagner. Me and Jimmy, we've had this discussion about Bobby Wagner. Do you sign him? Do you not sign him? Well, guess what? The Seattle Seahawks decided to sign him. He's agreed to terms with the Seahawks on a 3-year extension for $54 million. That includes $40.2 million fully guaranteed, making him the highest paid linebacker per source. A lawsuit over the Oakland Raiders' move to Las Vegas has been dismissed. I know the city of Oakland was trying to kind of rain on the Raiders' parade of leaving Oakland and trying to keep them there. They were trying to sue for loss of tax revenue. They were trying to sue for the team name. Even the team colors they were trying to keep in the city of Oakland and force the Raiders to completely change not only the name, the colors, everything. But that just got shut down. They just didn't have any evidence to support that. Packers signing former Jaguars running back Corey Grant. This is a guy that I was very high on. Me and Jimmy both were very high on this kid. But I didn't know, but he was a free agent. And the Packers, I think, are lucky to get this kid. This kid he's a great player. I think he's going to fit nicely with that team, especially behind Jamal Williams. And I'm going to forget his running back. Aaron something. Aaron Jones. Golden Tate reportedly facing a 4-game PED suspension and is now appealing that suspension. Those of you who are just tuning in right now. Eagles cornerback Cravon LeBlanc. Oh, man, this is bad news for the Eagles. Is going to miss several weeks with a foot sprain. Former ex-Cowboys and Chiefs corner Orlando Scandrick has now signed a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, going ahead and filling that spot very quickly with a veteran. Arizona Cardinals linebacker Hassan Riddick had a minor knee procedure and will miss a few weeks from the Cardinals. Free agent cornerback Deshaun Shedd returns to the Seahawks on a 1-year deal. A guy very familiar to Seattle is now making a return for them. The Detroit Lions announced they have released running back Theo Riddick upon signing D-tackle Mike Daniels. Theo Riddick being the odd man out in terms of the roster there, since he's taken a visit with the New Orleans Saints, so maybe he lands there. The Pittsburgh Steelers announced for the 2019 season their Ring of Honor inductees will be former Steelers Bill Cowher, Larry Brown, L.B. Nickel, and Hines Ward to enter this year in the Ring of Honor. Wide receiver Robert Woods and the Rams agreed to a restructured contract, adding $3 million to his deal, giving him a little bit of a raise there. No additional years were tacked on to that deal, which runs through 2021. The Bengals wide receiver A.J. Green, this guy can never stay healthy, can he? Is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks after ankle injury diagnosed as torn ligaments. So another big blow for Cincinnati there. A Steelers fan, I love this story. A Steelers fan had a Steelers logo tattooed right to his dome piece, to his head. And wide receiver Juju autographed it and promised tickets if he got the signature tatted as well. Juju, after this Steelers fan posted a pic of it and tagged Juju in it, Juju followed through on his end and now that Steelers fan is a proud season ticket holder, courtesy of Juju Smith-Schuster. This is a pretty cool story, and I wanted to ask all the know-it-alls out there, let me know if you would do this. Would you tattoo your team's logo and get it signed by a particular player and get that tatted as well just to get season tickets? How diehard are you guys out there? The Cardinals announced they have released the former first-round pick, defensive lineman Robert Nkemdiche. Wow. And this is and to be honest, it's a little bit of a surprise, but not so much, because Robert Nkemdiche was one of those players coming out that a lot of people questioned his work ethic. They weren't really sure how hard he was going to work, if he was going to be, as determined as he was in college into the pros after he got the contract. this has proven exactly what everybody thought was the problem. His work ethic, I think, in the end got him. The New Orleans Saints have released wide receiver Cameron Meredith, according to Herbie Tiope of the Times Picayune. Man, oh my God, so difficult. But there you have it. Cameron Meredith, who was once thought to be a sleeper for the Chicago Bears. Me and Jimmy were high on him when we saw glimpses of his talent, and landed a spot in New Orleans Saints. And who knows, maybe he's just not healthy still. Veteran quarterback Josh Johnson was offered a contract with the Baltimore Ravens Monday, but turned it down, actually, in hopes of a better opportunity. According to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, then the Ravens decided to sign Joe Callahan per Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network as well. Josh Johnson, what are you doing? Yeah, I mean, what do you think's going to happen? Someone's going to offer you a starting gig right now? You're a backup. You're a career backup. Sorry, Josh, but that's what it is. Take what you can get, man. Get the money. Bengals wide receiver John Ross may miss 2 weeks with that hamstring issue. This is a guy that, Jesus, if the guy could just stay healthy. I mean, he has talent that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he just got to stay healthy, and he just can't do it. So this is a player that I could potentially see. We saw the Bengals already try to put him on the trade block. I think they're already willing to let him go if they could find some partner in a deal. The Miami Dolphins fired offensive line coach Pat Flaherty and named Dave DiGuglielmo as his successor, the team announced. Dave, coming also an expatriate coach, he's going to go ahead and coach that offensive line. Pat Flaherty, whatever. He's just not. He just wasn't making the correct changes for this offensive line. And even though they're very young, Brian Flores is not happy. He just didn't see any changes with this offensive line or any improvement. Roger Goodell and 3 officials are ordered to testify over Rams versus Saints pass interference no call. According to the Associated Press, a judge in Louisiana ordered 3 officials from the game and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to be questioned under oath at some point in September regarding the no call. Attorney Antonio Lamon filed a lawsuit over the game and is seeking $75,000 in damages to be donated to charity. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Saints would rather just, replay the game, be in the playoffs, because to be honest, that call blew it for the Saints. The Saints were supposed to be in the Super Bowl, and it just didn't happen, unfortunately. But I mean, some money to go to charity in the end, that's pretty cool. But again, this doesn't justify. This isn't justice. It's not. It is what it is. I mean, all you can do right now is move on. Former Rams running back Steven Jackson signs a one-day contract to retire as an LA Ram. Steven Jackson, I mean, I remember watching him play. A very big, kind of imposing type-looking running back, a guy that was fast for his size. He was definitely a fun one to watch for sure. Tampa Bay Bucks signed quarterback Vincent Testaverde, the son of, you guessed it, Vinny Testaverde, per Adam Schefter. Vincent Testaverde, he played for UAlbany up here in upstate New York, and I mean, he's been to a bunch of teams already. And obviously teams like something about the kid because he seems to go team to team to team to team and not just team to out of the NFL. He's still hanging in there. So, I don't know. They must see something in him. The Seattle Seahawks rookie DN, LJ Collier, the number 29th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, was carted off the field during training camp practice after suffering an injury to his right ankle, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. He is believed to he is believed to miss the rest of training camp. Sorry about that. But Tennessee Titans running back Derrick Henry is expected to be sidelined for 2 weeks due to a strained calf, actually, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. I know fantasy football is out there. Hollywood has already had his fantasy draft, and stuff like this. This kind of stuff scares you when you're doing a fantasy draft. Whether you don't know or it happens after your draft, it's the worst thing ever. So I mean, what are you gonna do there? I just don't know what to tell you. It's very concerning, and I wonder just how. Whatever. I don't know. I'm just spewing off random things. I don't know. But so he'll be back in 2 weeks. He'll still be there for training camp. Everything's all good. No harm, no foul. The Cleveland Browns will honor Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Otto Graham at First Energy Stadium with a statue in his likeness, as announced by Dee and Jimmy Haslam of the Cleveland Browns. Very cool thing that they're doing. They're recognizing all the legends of the Cleveland Browns and finding different ways to do that. Falcons announced rookie offensive lineman. This is what I alluded to earlier in the show. They've announced that offensive lineman and rookie offensive lineman Caleb McGarry will undergo a cardiac ablation procedure today. The minimally invasive procedure is similar to 2 previous procedures McGarry has undergone in his playing career. Caleb McGarry missed 6 to 8 weeks the last time he underwent this procedure in college. So this is very unfortunate for the Atlanta Falcons because now he's missing the whole important part of the offseason is training camp. It's where you learn the most. It's where you're with the vets. You can get tips from the veterans and just develop your game overall against the best. So this is a big hurt, and this could bleed into the regular season. He might potentially miss the first 2 games. So I don't know what they're going to plan on doing with that right tackle position, but better find an answer for it and quickly. Hall of Fame Dolphins linebacker Nick Buonconti dies at age 78. Nick had been suffering from dementia and arranged to donate his brain to science in order to help further the research into the long-term effects of head injuries suffered in the NFL. Nick spent 7 seasons apiece with the Boston Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. He was a 5-time All-Pro and helped lead the Dolphins to back-to-back Super Bowls titles in 1972 and 1973. The New Orleans Saints and wide receiver Michael Thomas, I can't believe the contract, have agreed to a 5-year deal, $100 million contract extension per Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. The deal makes Thomas the highest paid wide receiver ever and the first non-quarterback offensive player to receive $100 million packed per Ian Rappaport. The reporter added, Thomas's contract contains $61 million guaranteed. The New Orleans Saints, they come in, they back up the Brinks truck here, and they just unload into his house. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I cannot believe the amount of Hold on a second. I cannot believe the amount of money that they just paid this guy. It is absolutely insane. And that's it for the drop, everybody. I mean, it's kind of a lengthy drop for me because without Jimmy here, it just, quite honestly, it just doesn't feel the same. It really doesn't. I mean, me by myself, it's kind of boring, actually, to be completely honest. I mean, thank God to the know-it-alls out there for hitting the chat as much as they've been doing. It hasn't been so lonely. I mean, I have some friends out there, so that's nice to see. But while I was reading the drop, I noticed that you guys were commenting a little bit more. Jimmy said Trey Boston should land a team by the beginning of the season. Whose roster? Well, yeah, definitely. He should. I mean, I don't know how he's still out there, but he should. I mean, the Giants had him in for a workout. I highly doubt he's out of shape. Hey, if the Giants brought him in, they're obviously interested. I definitely think that a deal should get done with the Giants, but if not, I mean, there's plenty of teams that could use safety help. I mean, he's out there. He just wants it. He wants a home. That's really what it is right now at this point. He wanted to stay on the West Coast. Couldn't find a team out there that had a mutual interest, but now it's I want to be on a roster. You know what I mean? So Trey Boston, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that are always looking for help. Who knows? Maybe the Eagles. I mean, right off the top of my head, maybe the Eagles would be interested in Trey Boston, because if Malcolm Jenkins' type of holdout lasts, any length of the training camp right now, if it's going deep into training camp, I think they'd be wise to go ahead and pick up Trey Boston right now and get him fixated with the defense, get him to learn the playbook and be ready by week 1. I think that would be a smart decision on the Philadelphia Eagles' part, because then they probably wouldn't lose too much. You don't have Malcolm Jenkins back there, but nonetheless, you'll at least have a solid starter. Jimmy also goes, what's your take on the Michael Thomas contract? Holy smokes. I mean, I thought my reaction was pretty legit about that. I think it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I honestly just don't understand. Because now we're getting into that realm here where almost potentially you're getting up there to where, like, a lot of positions right now are getting close to that quarterback money. They're eclipsing that. They're piercing the veil for quarterback money. Now the Saints have agreed to basically give Michael Thomas quarterback money as a wide receiver. One player on a team. That's going to eat into your cap. I mean, do I agree with it? No, I don't. I understand Michael Thomas is a great player, but, geez, I mean, a wide receiver. I know he's an elite. He is an elite wide receiver in the league. But again, you look at Odell Beckham Jr. and the contract he got. We thought that was crazy. We thought that was absurd. You look at Antonio. I'm sorry, but the Raiders gave Antonio Brown a huge increase in his salary, and now he's like second behind Odell Beckham. Now Michael Thomas is sitting on top of the mountain right now. Michael Thomas is he's going to rake in the dough year to year. I mean, he is 26 years old, so think about when that contract ends, though. He's 26, 5 years from now. 31? You're going to have a 31-year-old receiver making $20 million that year? 30-year-old receiver making $20 million? Hopefully he has great genetics and can stay healthy all 5 years. Because I think eventually, Father Time will get you. When he starts to get about 31, I don't know. Antonio Brown's got great genetics. The guy's like, he's 31 now and looks like he's, 26. He's in phenomenal shape. So that's pretty insane. But Michael, I mean, the contract to me is that it's absurd. It's absurd. It's too much. It's too much. I mean, you're pouring a lot of money into one guy. I understand he's elite, and yes, he does deserve to get a pay raise. But I think this, in the long run, is going to hurt financially, cap-wise. I think eventually they're going to have to restructure this deal. I think it's just too much to give one player. And I've said that about a bunch of guys. Odell Beckham, I think, is absurd. Antonio Brown, I think, is crazy. I think when you start to get to where quarterbacks used to make, $20 million for a quarterback used to be a big deal. Everybody threw their hands up. Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me. You're paying Derek Carr that money. You're paying Matt Stafford that money. How could you? How could you? You're paying this guy. You're paying that guy. Yeah, well, that was the going rate then. And everybody freaked out about that. Now we're getting into 35. We're getting to 34, 35 million a year for quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. Now, are they elite? Yes, they're elite. I still think that's way too much money for a quarterback. Kirk Cousins makes $30 million. What's the Vikings going to do after this year? They got to move on. I look for them to draft a quarterback. I mean, maybe pick up a free agent just for insurance, but I think that they're going to have to move on from Kirk. They don't want to pay him more than 30, because Kirk Cousins is going to make the argument that he deserves more than 30 now. Now that you see Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and those guys get what they're getting. It's getting out of hand, guys. It's getting way out of hand, Noodles, I'm telling you. And at some point, and I'm sorry, I might sound like a broken record, but at some point, the front offices of each team, the general managers, they got to just like they did with running backs. Running backs, they said, oh, nope, we're not going to invest a ton of money in running backs. We can get another running back in the draft. We can find another running back in the draft. We can get a free agent running back to be adequate enough to do what we want. No more shelling out big money. That's got to happen. It's got to happen now. Wide receivers getting out of hand. Defensive ends are getting out of hand. Quarterbacks are already out of hand. I mean, it's out of control. Out of control. But Hollywood goes, A.J. Green should be good to go week 1. I heard not preseason. Yeah, and that's true. But, I mean, they're speculating 6 to 8 weeks. That could easily bleed into week 1, possibly week 2, if he's not healing fast enough. I think at least he's going to miss week 1. That's my guesstimation. I think A.J. Green, I mean, he's going to miss week 1 of the regular season. I think he'll be back in week 2. That's my assumption. With dealing with his injury and what he's had to do in the past, I think he's going to definitely miss week 1. Hollywood also goes, I think we are all happy Mark Sanchez retired. Yep, that's absolutely correct. Mark Sanchez, he has officially retired. Jet fans out there are elated. They're probably throwing parties, I think, throughout New York about that. I mean, and showing highlights of the butt fumble and all of Mark Sanchez's, at his demise. But nonetheless, I think I have to say, I mean, I was impressed. I go, thank you, know-it-alls, for all the support out there. We're on Facebook, we're on Periscope, we're on YouTube. Unfortunately, I'm doing this solo, and I'll tell you right now, if I had another person alongside of me by the name of Jimmy, I think the show would have went a lot smoother. I'm just saying. I think I can handle this over here. I think I've gotten the hand of it. Except by yourself, making those making the transfers and everything. Holy crap! It's tough. It's really tough. But nonetheless, want to thank all you know-it-alls out there. We went through the NFC East today. We hammered out some of the dramatic situations for the Cowboys, the Giants wide receiver problems. Real quick to go through the Redskins and Trent Williams. What's going to happen with that situation? The Eagles. There's nothing crazy going on there. They're going day to day, business as usual. With all these returning healthy bodies, they got to remain healthy. Carson Wentz is the key. He has to stay healthy no matter what in order for them to get anywhere. And then we gave you the drop. We gave you the fact of the day. Jimmy once again does it again with the fact of the day. I mean, every week I learn something new. And these are things that I never knew. I've watched football for many years, so hasn't Jimmy. And these are things that we're learning right now. So you can always learn something new every day. But thank you all know-it-alls for out there. Go ahead, encourage your friends. If you love football, have them join the football family on YouTube. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow us on Twitter at FB_know. Thank you all know-it-alls for a fantastic day. I look forward to Jimmy being in the other seat next week, Wednesday. Thank you all. You guys are the best. Awesome.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.